Hi, Temple. This is Paul Slatkis. This is Good News Planet. We're talking to Temple Grandin. Hi, Temple. How you doing?
Hi, how are you doing? I'm doing okay, except I got laryngitis.
Temple, I'm doing fine as well. I met you through Karen Simmons and Autism Today organization, and somehow we were putting together a autism channel on Good News, and Karen said, you need to speak with Temple. And she has a movie on HBO coming out, and I guess I did.
It's already out.
Yeah, right. This was a while ago when we did an interview some months ago, and it was right before. It was like the day or two before, and I said, "Wow, that's great! A movie on autism and a movie on what I learned to be on Temple, who was." I would let our audience know here is an American doctor of American science and professor of Colorado State University, best-selling author, consultant to livestock industry on animal behavior, person with high-functioning autism, also widely known for your work in autism advocacy, and is the inventor of the hug machine designed to calm hypersensitive persons. Wow. So I just want to mention that, we have about almost 40,000 people have heard our interview, you and I, the day or two before. But I did get one or two comments back that said that I wasn't so prepared. And I must say to my audience that I wasn't prepared. And I didn't know much about your background. And I apologize maybe for you and to them. But I am now so happy to get, and you're so kind to say, let's speak again. So how are things going? How is it since the HBO special for you?
Well, it's been really, really busy. I've gotten tons of emails. It makes me really pleased that I've got people that have written into me saying the movie's inspired them to do well in school, or somebody that writes in and says, well, your book enabled my son to go to college.
Wow.
Because one of the things I just want to show people that, I had a lot of handicaps, but really work hard, you can succeed.
Uh-huh. And that is your, you have this motto, or you note here that, having autism was not, in essence, you wouldn't give it up if you had that choice.
Well, I like the logical way that I think. Now that I've kind of figured out how to adapt, there's certain kinds of thinking I'm very, very good at doing. Very detailed kind of thinking, solving problems with different things, because I think much more specific. And as research it shows that the normal human mind drops out the details. Well, in the work that I've done with livestock, it's the details that scare the cattle, like a chain hanging down in a chute, or a shadow, or a reflection, or a coat on a fence. And I have to make checklists, for people to use to find these things, because I find that they don't see them, even though I've talked about them for years. I still will go out and find a chain hanging down in a chute, and that can really mess up their cattle handling. Something that small, the cattle don't want to walk through a swinging chain.
Mm-hmm. Why animals? Why animals? What interested you? And going back, I guess you grew up in Boston, and you actually have a PhD, and so on and so forth. Why animals?
Well, animals are sensory-based thinkers. You see, I think totally in pictures. I don't think in words. I kind of use words to narrate the pictures that are in my mind. Mm-hmm. I'm not a word thinker. Mm-hmm. And an animal is a sensory-based thinker. And that's how they think. They're going to think in pictures, think in smells, whiffs, think in sound, think in touch sensation. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's sensory-based. It's not word-based.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I can appreciate that. I think I am as well. I'm a visual guy. I'm a video guy. I'm not a good reader of books, even though my mother's a librarian. So
well, why did you become a video guy? Because that's using the area where you have your area of strength. And this brings up the thing I really emphasize in autism is you've got to build on the kid's strengths. Like I had good ability in art. My parents always kept, encouraging me on my art. Mm-hmm. And it was art that be turned into my design business. Mm-hmm. You've got to build up the thing that the kid's good at. Also, they need to be taught work skills. By the time I was 13 years old, Mother had me working for a seamstress 2 afternoons a week.
Oh, boy. That's marvelous. Well, obviously your parents had that strength in their character.
I'll be right back.
Sure.
Very sorry about that.
I guess your parents had that foresight, or could see. What do you think it was about your parents that helped motivate you?
I think some of it was 50s upbringing. In the 50s, kids were taught table manners. Kids were taught to say please and thank you. upbringing in the 50s was just a lot more rigid. There were some expectations for behavior. I had to sit through church even though I didn't like it. Now we got to make sure that you don't force a child into sensory overload, because if it had been a rock and roll blasted out church, that definitely would not have worked. But sometimes you got to do stuff you don't really want to do, and there were some expectations for behavior. Today I'm seeing like a 12-year-old autistic kid that's fully verbal just stop at a gas station and he pulls candy off the shelf in the store and throws it on the floor. I mean, I never did anything like that. I wasn't allowed to do stuff like that.
So I can relate. I'm from 1949 birth boy, and was taught manners. I have to say, it was expected.
And I think this is the sort of today's looser society. They're not teaching these things, and I think it hurts the autistic or the Asperger kid more than it hurts a normal kid to not be taught these things.
So getting this knowledge out, maybe to more people, will be helpful by far, right?
Well, absolutely. And I've got a lot of books, Thinking in Pictures and The Way I See It. Those are my two main autism books. And I've got a lot of information in there on how people with autism think, experiences I had, sensory issues. You've got to understand sensory issues, because there's some individuals that cannot tolerate going into a big, noisy supermarket. They're going to just go into sensory overload, and they're not going to be able to tolerate it.
But let me just ask again, what was it about an animal? Did you have dogs? Did you have pets?
We had pets when I was a kid, but I didn't really get into animals until I was in high school and I started riding horses. That's when I got into animals.
All right, and you fell in love with them.
Yeah, horses. I was an absolute horse nut when I was 16 years old.
Marvelous. Tell the future now for you. What are you working on, and how can people involve themselves in what you're doing?
Well, I doing a lot of talks. In fact, I can't go to all the speaking engagements I'm asked to do, but I tend to put the priority towards, they're talking to young people. I want to inspire young people to go out and do things. It made me really pleased that I had a lady come up to me and she says, I'm a cattle veterinarian now because your work inspired me. Or a child with Asperger's and he's now got a good job because I inspired him. That's the sort of stuff that turns me on.
Okay, so you'll continue with that by far.
I will continue doing lots and lots of speaking engagements.
And you have a website as well, right?
Yeah, I have a website, but most of my stuff is in my books. A lot of books. I've got Thinking in Pictures, and then I have The Way I See It, and then I have a book called Developing Talents. That's a book about careers for people on the autism spectrum, and there's not anywhere near enough being done on careers. And kids need to be taught job skills young. Starting in middle school, they need to start doing job things. I mean, today there's no more paper routes, but they could be walking dogs. They could be fixing neighborhood computers. They need to start learning how to do things for other people.
Do you think that autism, they say, do you agree with this, that autism has increased over the years, or do you think that the recognition of autism has increased?
Well, the mild autism's always been here. Geeks and nerds have always been here. I mean, half of Silicon Valley probably has mild autism. And if you didn't have those people out in Silicon Valley, you wouldn't have any recording equipment to talk on today. The geeks and nerds have always been here.
Yay!
But I think there is some severe autism that has increased, especially the type where the kid seems to have some language, and then at around 2 years of age, they lose the language. And I think that type has gone up.
And do you have any belief of why?
Well, I think, environmental contaminants of various kinds. There's all kinds of theories. But the mild autism, it's always been here, because I work in a technical job, and I can go out to a meat plant, and I see people my age that I know would be diagnosed as Asperger's today, and they're the engineer for a whole great big huge plant.
Oh boy. Well, Temple, I know you have laryngitis. I don't want to overdo it with your throat here. I would love to talk to you longer. Next time we will.
Sorry about the laryngitis.
It's fine.
I can't help that.
You're such a professional. You still do the interview. You still were kind enough to agree to it. So I hope you feel better.
I just have to apologize to everybody for the laryngitis, and that's why I sound so horrible. But all I can say in ending is develop the strengths. People on the spectrum have uneven skills, so build up the area of strength. And think about what that person can do with that to make a career out of it. Kids get fixated on something like trains. Well, then broaden it out. Read a book about trains. Do mathematics with trains. Read about the history of the railroad. They like to paint pictures of trains. Let's do a picture of where a train goes. You see, now you've got an associative link back to his favorite thing. And you see, you can use that motivation and that fixation.
That's obviously good news for you. No doubt about it. Temple Grandin, it's a big honor once again to get to speak with you. Thank you very much, and I look forward to next time, and maybe next time we can go to video and figure out maybe we can make a bunch of shows and share them with the world.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thanks, Temple. Take care.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Okay, yeah, bye.